Hello guys, my name is Anna and I'm from Ukraine, and I have decided I will vlog daily from my country Ukraine since the start of this awful war with Russia. It has taken me a year and I continue until you witness our victory. If you're new to the channel, go check some of my videos, and if you like them, subscribe because I believe the world needs to know more about Ukraine. I have to confess, this is a vlog, and vlog is always subjective and emotional. Sometimes I tell you optimistic news and sometimes not very optimistic, and perhaps today is the day like that. I decided to take a short walk in the park in the morning before work, and when I went out of my house, I saw a funeral, a military funeral. As I live close to the central cathedral and most of the military funerals take place here, I often witness that, and it's a very difficult moment. Typically, all of us cry and all of us stop no matter where you were walking and what were your plans, because you have to honor a fallen hero. It's always difficult to look at their relatives, it's always difficult to look at their portraits, because typically these are young, handsome, strong men. And this is the moment when you ask yourself 100 questions. Why is this happening to us? I do understand that now we have the support of the world, we have demonstrated our bravery and strengths, and many people learned and loved Ukraine during this year, so there are lots of achievements. There are so many losses. And you feel like how stupid that is and how totally wrong it is, because like we are in our homeland. We do not interfere into other countries' affairs. We live our life, we have our own problems, and then an evil comes and starts ruining families, territories, and it is impossible to forgive, to forget, but first it must be stopped. And the problem is we are still in the process, and hopefully no one will get tired from supporting us, because for Ukrainians we cannot stop. This is an existential fight. Also, I feel obliged to update you on the situation with the Ukrainian hero, a prisoner of war who was brutally shot by Russian orcs. In one of my previous vlogs, I have introduced you to Timofey Shadura, who was believed to be the man. But recently, new information appeared, and it is believed to be a different man. But first of all, I have to say that every fallen hero, every Ukrainian soldier who was shot, who was killed on the front lines during this war is a hero. So no matter what the name of the person is, and there are many of them whom we did not see, and maybe we will not learn about them. The moment of their death will not be filmed, but they are heroes, and we have to remember and understand that. But the update on the person on the video who was killed by Russians is reported to be a different person, and what is also important to state, a citizen of Moldova, which once again demonstrates that all the democratic and civilized world is united with Ukraine. And of course, Ukrainians are not Nazis. The only Nazis in Ukraine are Russians. So the person of the identified hero is Oleksandr Matsievsky, who was born in 1980. And he lived in Nizhyn, and at the start of this war he joined the territorial defense, had his trainings, and became a sniper. From what I know from the stories told by Ukrainian military, Russians typically kill snipers and other military professionals. They do not capture them because they realize if the person is exchanged, then returned back to the Ukrainian armed forces. These are dangerous professionals, and typically they kill them. It is also very difficult to watch this video. I know many of you did, and I think it's important, if you can do it, if your health, your mental health, your emotions allow, do watch such videos, because they demonstrate us what Russia is and what war is. It is also believed that he stands not next to the trench because the spade is near to him, so it's very likely that Russian soldiers made him dig his own grave before he was executed, after saying Slava Ukraini, glory to Ukraine. This is another level of cruelty, violence, and brutality that Russian soldiers demonstrate, and of course they must be identified and they must be punished. I think it is same important as the identification of the heroes, the identification of the animals, not animals, worse than animals, enemies, and these evil Russian creatures is top important. I know that many of Russian soldiers who committed crimes in Bucha and Irpin were identified, so I believe these orcs who executed a Ukrainian prisoner of war without weapons for saying glory to Ukraine must be identified. And from my personal perspective, they also must dig their own graves, and then it's possible not to shoot them, but simply dig them in that graves, and then in half an hour they will be done. Because like when you see these funerals in the morning in your town, when you see these videos of beautiful Ukrainian people on Ukrainian territory protecting democracy and Ukrainian people, and these Russians who like lost their own country and now share hatred, despair, poverty all over the world, that is a huge tragedy, and this definitely leads to hatred. Also, I would like to attract your attention to the fact that many people who are in the trenches, who are in front lines, they look bad. Don't judge their age by the photos you see, and if you compare them, you will see how difficult it is to live in these conditions and how people quickly change. Even our Ukrainian president, who does not sleep in trenches but lives under tremendous pressure, he changed a lot. And I think every Ukrainian did. Another thing, another dimension that we do not mention is that many people suffer from not just the death of their relatives on the front lines, but also a really long period when they don't have access to the body. Many of the killed and wounded Ukrainian soldiers are on the territories where it is impossible to reach them. And sometimes it takes 4, 5, 7 days for a body to be taken away from the place where it was killed and where a person was killed. And that is very tragic for families because they already know that their son is dead, but they cannot pick his body. There are special services, lots of, even in my region, lots of funeral agencies changed their specialization, if it's possible to say, and go to front lines and know how to pick up the bodies, how to bring them. And I think this is a huge trauma for everyone. And also then the identification takes place. Sometimes it demands specific tests to be made. Not all bodies are possible to be shown, and all of this adds pain and tragedy to the family and to the country in general. And some people confess that the worst thing is not to know what happened or where is the person and where is his or her body, because if you don't have information about the person for like months, you do realize that something wrong is happening. Many families pray for a soldier to be a prisoner of war, because then there is a chance that he or she will be exchanged. If he or she is not a sniper, does not have important military position or any connections, political connections inside Ukraine or something. Russians are very good at identifying people in social media and elsewhere. So people try to keep low profile and wait for the exchange. But if and Russians often film prisoners of war, and families look for these videos trying to identify their relatives. But if there is no such video and a person is missing for a really long period of time, it's quite predictable that he or she is dead. And for you to imagine the scale of the tragedy, I have to say that within 2022, like 5,000 Ukrainians were officially missing, and many of them like unofficially, because there are some families devastated by war, some are abroad, some people do not have close relatives or friends to look for them. So you can imagine a size of the tragedy, and I have to confess, this is something that we don't often speak about, but like I'm trying to show you this normal life, and of course there are lots of islands of this normal life when you're able to work, to buy, to eat, or even to travel, but at the same time the whole country is soaked in this darkness and evil spread by Russian soldiers that must be cleaned out, not only from Ukraine, but also from Russia. So coming back to Oleksandr Matsievsky, I have to say that all Ukrainians are grateful for his sacrifice. His son identified him on the video, and later his mother confirmed it was him. His body will return to home, and he was buried on the 14th of February, and the video was revealed later. And his mother did not know before he actually died that he was on the front lines. He believed he's in the territorial defense in a safer zone, but then in December he was sent to the front lines, and on the 28th or 9th of December he called his mom and told her he would never surrender. And we see he did not, and Ukraine would never surrender. And to tell you the truth, I know that you're a very valuable community and my true friends. I have to tell you that just as this hero did, like when he knew there is no choice, no freedom for him, only like this orcs behind him, he chose death with dignity. And I can tell you that Ukraine also chooses to fight, and we will fight until like the last Ukrainian, because for us it is an existential fight. And having seen all that, like, you cannot negotiate, you cannot forgive, you can only win, and we must win. Thank you for the support that you demonstrate to my country and to my channel. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons, and most importantly, thank you that you stand with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!